Hati-hati dia basah-basah.
Tukar kawasan sekarang.
Kata yang outline ni kan dia dibuka tertutup. Involve attendance. Thank you Aina. Tak apa, it's okay. Berdegung. Oh ya ke? I ingat I off-offkan semua je.
Alamak, edit sekali lagi hilang lah. Kena background ni. Show background. Cuba Kak Ika bercakap suara saya. Hello? Testing?
Testing. Hello, testing.
Very good. Duduk.
Tak bisa. Tak dapat tukar?
Dapat.
Dia patutnya kalau dari WhatsApp.
Hello. Tak tak? Tak, tapi saya tak dengar suara.
Oh, dia orang tak dengar suara.
Suara polis.
Okay.
Windows bawah. Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3.
Jadi dengar. Kak Ika, testing tengok.
Hello. Jadi dengar tak?
Okey, suara.
Cuba sini dengar.
Oh, dia dengar ada suara dia. Okey, tak apa.
Hello.
Dengar dah?
Ya.
Ya. Internet.
Jadi sekali lagi.
Hello.
Hilang tak ada kat kau. Pasal dengar dia orang cakap kan.
Sebab dia orang tak ni.
Cik Edit cuba test.
Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3.
Pasal
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Are you ready? Assalamualaikum, Prof. Prof Yamin. Are you ready? Assalamualaikum, Prof. Prof Yamin, are you ready? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Webinar. Okay.
Okay, we are experiencing some technical problem. Just hang on there. Just a little bit more. Prof, just to let you know, actually, our rector from University Palawan, Prof Amir, is not able to make it. Okay, so it's just you alone. Assalamualaikum, Nila. So welcome, Assalamualaikum, Mrs. Nila and Mrs. Bitri. Okay, we're about to start. Just hold on. There's some technical problem.
Waalaikumsalam, Dr. Sheha. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, everyone here is fine. Okay, hope everyone is fine over there.
Yeah, everyone is fine here. Alhamdulillah.
It's good to know.
Waalaikumsalam, Dr. Sheha.
Sekejap nanti. Dari mana gambarnya? Dari mana? Oh ni. Mana dia? Sekejap. Macam mana nak ambil? Sekejap. Macam mana nak ambil? Buku dah. Mana cik ni kat dalam? Participant.
Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh and a very good morning ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our guest of honor, Director of University Technology Mara UITM Cawangan Negeri Sembilan Malaysia, Professor Dr. Yamin Yassin. Head of the Academy of Language Studies, University Technology Mara UITM Cawangan Negeri Sembilan Malaysia, Professor Madya Zainun Ismail. Our guest speakers and respectable participants of today's webinar, it is our privilege to have you with us today. I am Nur Fazlika binti Abdul Karim. It is my pleasure to be your MC for this webinar and our moderator will be Mr. Muhammad Yadid Ashrai. On behalf of the Academy of Language Studies, University Technology Mara UITM Cawangan Negeri Sembilan Campus Kuala Pilah, we are pleased to welcome all of you to our 4th APB webinar series 2021 on Humanizing Online Learning. However, we are also pleased to announce that this is our first webinar in collaboration with Universitas Pahlawan Tuanku Tembusai Indonesia after the signing of Memorandum of Understanding between both universities. All praises to Allah that we have been graced by the chance to gather here in this webinar. Before we start the session, let us begin with the recitation of Kitab Al-Fatiha. Ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, may we request Director of University Technology Mara UITM Cawangan Negeri Sembilan Malaysia, Professor Dr. Yamin Yassin to deliver his opening speech.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Fazlika. Assalamualaikum and very good morning to our distinguished guests, Professor Dr. Amir Lutfi, Rector of Universitas Pahlawan Tuanku Tembusai Indonesia, Associate Professor Zainun Ismail, Head of Academy of Language Studies, UITM Negeri Sembilan. Our panelists for today's webinar, Mr. Muhammad Izzat Rahim from UITM Negeri Sembilan, and Muhammad Fakri Rabialdi from Universitas Pahlawan Tuanku Tembusai Indonesia, lecturers, students from UITM Negeri Sembilan and Universitas Pahlawan, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. UITM Negeri Sembilan, I'd like to express my heartfelt appreciation to the organizer, Academy of Language Studies, UITM Negeri Sembilan, and Universitas Pahlawan for organizing this webinar as a platform to ensure continuous academic collaboration between the two universities. Epidemic has changed our education landscape massively, which has resulted in school closures, and we can see many educational institutions are resorting to virtual learning. Studying in times of COVID-19 pandemic comes with a lot of challenges, especially if you're coming from an underprivileged background. However, within this hardship, a new opportunity arises. This epidemic has actually shown us that it is possible to conduct a major discussion and provide a platform for all individuals from different corners of the world to come together, sit down and express our opinions for the betterment of our society. As for today's webinar, we will be discussing further on teaching and learning via online platforms. We must delve further in the issue of online learning to uncover how entertaining and even less stressful and unique teaching approach will be able to opportunity that is given to each student in carrying out and tasks or assignments according to their appropriate would surely yield better quality results in their learning. I believe the entire point of this program is to let us meet new people, exchange ideas, share our experiences, and build stronger connection with Universitas Pahlawan in particular. Every university is currently engaged in quest for a new identity, and for such self-discovery, dialogues across the campus border are needed more than ever. And of course, students, scholars, and open-minded administrators are the major players in such open fields. It is my hope that coming up with this initiative will enhance a mutual understanding among us and foster chances to promote valuable initiative between the two participating universities. On that note, it is my honor to announce the commencement of APB Webinar Series 4 2021, Humanizing Online Learning. I am truly humbled by this opportunity and very much looking forward to what each and every one of us has to say. With that, thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Yamin Yassin, for the opening speech. Before we get started, I am going to go through some housekeeping matters first as a reminder. First of all, please type your questions in the comment section for the YouTube live if you have any queries. Mr. Muhammad Yadid Ashra will be attending to the questions during the Q&A session. Next, please do not forget to fill in the feedback form that will be provided at the end of this webinar in the comment section, or you can also scan the QR code for e-certificate. For you ITM staff, training hours will be provided. Moving right along, it is now my pleasure to introduce our speakers. Allow me to introduce our first speaker for today, Mr. Muhammad Izzat Rahim. Mr. Muhammad Izzat Rahim is a senior lecturer specializing in English language teaching and genre analysis. He is experienced with various levels of tertiary level students, including pre-diploma, diploma, and bachelor's degree. He holds a Master in Applied Linguistics, TESOL, from University Putra Malaysia, and a bachelor degree in Education TESOL from University Technology Mara UITM. He is currently doing his doctorate in Applied Linguistics at University Technology Malaysia. His research interests include genre analysis, pedagogy, discourse analysis, and applied linguistics. Our next speaker is Mr. Fakhri Rabialdi. Mr. Fakhri Rabialdi holds the position as the lecturer and head of training, entrepreneurships and business department. He is attached to Universitas Pahlawan Tuanku Tembusai, Indonesia, which is a flourishing private university in Indonesia. He holds a Master in Human Resource Management from University Utara Malaysia and a bachelor degree in Human Capital Management from Management and Science University. He is currently doing his doctorate in Human Resource Management at University Utara Malaysia. His research interests include human resource, management, entrepreneurship, and SME. I am pretty sure by now we really look forward to listening to what both of our speakers are going to share with us. Therefore, without further delay, I will hand over the session to our moderator, Mr. Muhammad Yadid Ashra.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam Nur Fazlika. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you again to our APB Webinar Series 4 2021. I'm Yadid Ashrai, your moderator for today's webinar. Before we begin our session, I would like to welcome our distinguished guest speaker for today. We have Encik Muhammad Izzat Rahim from Academy of Language Studies, UiTM Negeri Sembilan Kuala Pilah campus, and Mr. Fakhri Rabialdi from Entrepreneurship and Business Development, Universitas Pahlawan Tuanku Tembusai, Indonesia. To date, Mr. Izzat and Mr. Fakhri are finishing their PhD studies. How are you, Encik Izzat?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm doing fine. Looking forward for today's webinar.
I think this is the first official meeting we have, even though we are in the same department, even after almost a year.
Yeah.
All right. So now, Mr. Fakhri, how are you doing there in Indonesia?
Yeah, Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Sir, I did.
Yes, yeah, I did. All right. So we pray that your journey of finishing your PhD will be eased by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah. All right. So again, Mr. Izzat and Mr. Fakri, we're so glad you could be here today to share your insight on a topic entitled Humanizing Online Learning. With this pandemic is still going on all around the world, especially in Malaysia and Indonesia, we hope the talk that will be given by both of you will give us a light of hope in coping with the technological aspect we are using in online learning in order to sustain the humanity relationship between the educators and students. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty sure by now we are really looking forward to hear what both of our speakers are going to share with us. Without further ado, I will now like to welcome our first speaker for today, Encik Muhammad Izzat Rahim. Encik Izzat, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much to the moderator, Mr. Iyadit. But first of all, let me share some slides that I have prepared for today's webinar. Yeah. All right. I guess I'm starting now. So thank you very much once again to the moderator, Mr. Iyadit. It's nice to see you. All right. So Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning. I bid to the distinguished guest, fellow speaker, Mr. Fakri Rabialdi, lecturers, students, ladies and gentlemen. I am Muhammad Izzat Rahim, an English lecturer in UiTM Kuala Pilah, Malaysia. So it's nice to see everybody here, so many familiar faces. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar. I do hope that you are in good condition, whether you are at the office or at your home. Yeah. All right. So for today's webinar, I'm going to share a little bit on my experience on online learning, and I also happen to recently conduct an action research in regards to online learning. So therefore, I would like to share the maybe findings with everybody in today's webinar. All right. For a start, let's talk a little bit about online learning. Yeah. I guess by now, most of us here are quite familiar with online learning because it has been like almost 2 years, I guess. Yeah, it has been almost 2 years since we dwell with online learning, and since the start of the pandemic back in 2019, early 2020, yeah, last year, we can see that the academic community have shifted from physical classes to online classes. Yeah, as a result, we can see that many academic activities such as lectures, discussion, tutorial, or even seminars such as this, they have shifted from physical classes to online platform. Right? We can see nowadays that the academic community, we are using a lot of online platforms such as Google Meet, Webex, Zoom, and many more. All right. Just like any other things, yeah, online learning has its own pros and cons. All right. Some people, they really love online learning. They embrace it simply because maybe online learning is convenient for them. They don't really have to wake up early in the morning. They don't really have to prepare themselves, carry heavy loads of books, notes, and even commute to classes. All they have to do is switch on their laptop, tablet, or even smartphone, and tada, they're already in the class, ready to learn. However, there are also people who find online learning as challenging. All right. Most of the time, this group of people, they find online learning challenging because they have technological issues. Like, for instance, they have a connection problem. All right. We know that when we have a poor internet connection, it is quite challenging or even impossible for us, the lecturers and even the students, to get engaged with online learning. And for some, they don't have the right tools. Like, for example, their laptop is outdated. They could not run the latest or needed software for the classes, or even their smartphone, the screen is too small. So it's hard for them to read the PowerPoint slides, maybe notes and things like that. Yeah. So whatever it is, like I said before, online learning has its own pros and cons. However, for today's webinar, I would like to only focus on one of the we can call as a setback of online learning, which is lack of human touch, which leads to a lot of problems maybe, yeah. And I will also try to suggest some ways for us, the lecturers, or even the students, to overcome the problem of lack of human touch, thus humanizing online learning. All right, so move along. Let's take a look at this quote by Jaggers and Zhu. They said that in any learning modality, human connection is the antidote for the emotional disruption that prevents many students from performing to their full potential. And in online courses, online learning, creating that connection is even more important. Well, indeed, what they say is true, because I believe that learning is not merely a technical activity where the teachers deliver, students receive, deliver and receive, just like our computer, like robot. Yeah, it involves more than that. There should be connection, there should be communication between teachers and students, and even between students and students. Yeah, so therefore we need to realize that we need to inject some human touch into our online learning, yeah, because without the human touch, if we do not humanize our online learning, there will be many problems. Yeah, so based on my literature search and my reading, I found many problems that like stem from lack of human touch. Like, for instance, number one over there, lack of presence. Students feel isolated. Indeed, that is very true. Many students, they feel isolated when they get engaged with online learning, because they feel as if they are all alone, doing the task all alone, because they don't see their friends in front of them, next to them, just like in the normal classroom. Yeah. More so, some classes, yeah, where they are required to only watch videos or read slides or notes. So they don't really feel the connection between them as a student and also the teachers. And even they don't really feel the connection between their peers. Yeah. Number two, absence of classroom environment. Yeah. We need to realize that even though with the advancements of technology nowadays, where we can share videos, slides, music, animation, and so many things, but still online learning is quite different from classroom environment. Yeah. This is because in a classroom environment, student can see their peers, student can talk, discuss, or they can have a chit chat with their friends. But in an online learning, such as this, for instance, they couldn't really talk with their peers, they couldn't really discuss, they don't really get the feeling of being in the classroom. Yeah. And of course, lastly, there will be some technological challenges, in example, training, design, instruction, and so many things. So therefore, we need to realize that without human touch, our online learning would be somewhat dry, not very effective, and even the students, they would not be able to perform at their best. All right. Now, in order for us, especially the lecturers, the teachers, to overcome this problem, first, we need to realize that learning, or in this case, online learning, is a multifaceted issue. All right. The nature of learning is actually more than just the content. Like I said before, it's not like the teacher delivers something, the student they receive something, that's it. Yeah. It involves cognitive, obviously, the content, all the information needed, and it involves affective. All right. That's what Pekansky and Brock said about learning over here. So as a teacher, as a lecturer, and even the students, we need to understand that it involves cognitive and affective. So therefore, in order for us to inject the human touch, in order for us to humanize online learning, we need to tackle these two elements, cognitive and also affective. All right. All right. If you go online, you search for information on how to humanize online learning. Of course, there are many ways to do it. But for today's webinar, I would like to draw your attention to one of the way that I think it is very simple. We can apply it. so that we can humanize online learning, right? So one of the way would be to refer to one of the most well-known psychological theory by Abraham Maslow called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Of course, when Maslow created the hierarchy of needs, his intention is not to create a hierarchy for learning, what more online learning at that time. But then again, yeah, when we really take a look at the hierarchy of needs, we can see that there are some similarities between that hierarchy, the original one, to online learning, right? We can adapt the hierarchy to our online learning design so that we can inject some human touch in it, yeah? So I guess many of us already know about this hierarchy of needs. As you can see on the screen right now, this is the adapted version, yeah, by Kate Baker. She called it as hierarchy of digital learning needs, right? The elements is still the same. The only difference will be on the details, right? The most basic need obviously would be the physical needs. As you can see down below there, we start from below. And after that, once it is fulfilled, we can move on to the needs of safety, the needs of belonging, the needs of esteem, self-esteem, and only then they can reach the peak of the hierarchy, which is self-actualization, all right? So basically, these are the things that I would like to share with everybody in today's webinar. And along the way, I would like try to suggest few ways on how to inject some human touch into our online learning so that the session, the online learning would be very fruitful to the teachers and also to the students, yeah? First, we start with physical needs, right? So basically, physical needs for online learning, what it entails, yeah? We need like a proper internet connection. What else? We need to have the physical space. You need to have the tables, chairs, and also suitable tools or gadgets like our laptop, maybe tablet, iPad, and so on. Yeah, take a look at the pictures on the screen right now. What you can see is that a very comfortable working or learning setup. All right, you can see a very comfortable chair, if I may say. Is it comfortable to you? All right. And then we can see a very wide table. And then on the table, you can see a very wide monitor and then some books, lights for lighting, and then some green colors from the plants and things like that. Very beautiful setup, isn't it? Yeah. I guess if we have this kind of setup, our physical needs in online learning will be fulfilled. However, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, in reality, how many of us have this kind of setup at home or even in the office? Yeah. And we also need to think about our students. They come from various backgrounds. Some of them don't even have a place in their home to what we call to get engaged or to join online learning. Yeah, I still remember few of my students when they wanted to join my online classes. Some of them need to be in their father's car because at home there are so many activities going on. They have small little brothers, sisters, and things like that. Some even have to like move a bit far away from their home, right? Sitting on the bench or somewhere that is quiet to get internet connection and things like that. So therefore, realizing the most basic things for online learning is physical needs. Yeah, as a teacher, as a lecturer, we need to understand that our students comes from various backgrounds. So my suggestion is it will be good at the beginning of the semester. Maybe we can talk to our students. Like what I did with my student is that I asked them to fulfill a simple survey. I'm asking about what kind of internet connection do they have? Is it limited or unlimited? What kind of gadget that they have? Is it smartphone and so on? What kind of version and things like that? Those information is important for me because by knowing my students and their physical needs, I can design design my online learning or my online classes according to their capabilities. Like for instance, let's just say many of our students, they don't really have good internet connection, or maybe they have limited internet connection. Maybe they don't have the ability to join a live session 3 times per week, for instance. So therefore, knowing that we can design our what we call learning by catering to their capabilities, by catering to the students' needs. Maybe we don't really use video most of the time. Maybe we can use a simple technology like WhatsApp, voice notes, for instance, so that all of the students, they can learn at the same time, at the same pace. All right. So I guess for number one, the most important thing for the students in an online learning will be their physical needs. All right. So once we understand what kind of environment do they have, what kind of gadget that they have, what kind of internet connection that they have, we can adjust our online learning based on the students' capability. So by talking to the students, we can inject some human touch. The students will feel that, oh, my lecturer, this lecturer really understands me. This lecturer really care about me. That's why he or she asked me about all sorts of things. So they will feel appreciated. All right. So basically that is physical needs. Once this is fulfilled, we can move on to the second need, which would be the safety. They need to feel safe, right? In an online learning environment, students need to feel secure, stable, and unafraid in an online learning, right? Let's be honest, our students, they have, or even the lecturers, we have a lot of worries, right, when it comes to online learning. Some of the worries are over there on the screen, as you can see. Sometimes it involves their affective, they feel stressed, they feel depressed, or they also feel like lack of motivation. Sometimes students or even the lecturers, we feel burned out because of this online learning thing. We feel tired on the head and things like that. Of course, technological challenge, feeling of isolation, absence of classroom environment. I already said that, and also, diminish of human aspect over there. So basically, these are the worries of the students when it comes to online learning. They have a lot of worries. They might feel that they might be left out. They do not know what their peers are doing in terms of tasks, test assignments, and things like that. So what can we do as a lecturer, as a teacher, to inject a little bit of human touch into it? Is that we need to have a clear communication with our students, all right? We need to acknowledge that online learning not only involves cognitive, but it also involves affective, Talk to them, maybe like what I did is that before I start to dive into the content of the class on the day, I would talk a little bit with my student, not only asking whether they are in good condition or not, but I would talk about things like problems that I have on online learning, and I will ask them, how do they do, how do they feel, or their routines and things like that. Also, it is important if we can talk to the students about our expectation and how are we going to conduct the online classes, right? By delivering this kind of information to the students will have the sense of stability. They would know what to expect. Like for instance, for my class, language class, I expect the students to use the language to talk, to respond. So I tell the students at the very beginning of the semester that for my class, like for instance, my public speaking class, I expect them to speak because it's a public speaking class. So whenever there's an issue to be discussed, whenever I ask questions, I expect people the students to react to me, all right? So I tell them again and again, and also I tell them their my plan ahead, right? Like for instance, next week I would like to do an impromptu speech session, for instance. Next week I would like to see their speech outline, for instance, right? So by communicating this kind of information to our students, the students will feel what we call, they will get the sense of stability. They will feel safe. They would know that, oh, in this class, this is what I am expected to do. This is how the class will be conducted. This is what the lecturers need, for instance. Yeah. So basically, for the second need, the need of safety, I guess by communicating our expectation, by addressing our concerns and the students' concerns, we can inject human touch into the online learning. Once again, I would like to stress out that teaching is not merely just delivering and receiving activity, right? It should involve more than that. All right. So that is the second need based on, based on this hierarchy of digital learning needs. Okay. The next one would be the sense of belonging. All right. The sense of belonging. It is important for students to feel that they belong to a group of people, right? For example, in a language class, they need to feel that they belong to this group. They are a member of that group. They are capable of contributing to that group, all right? Without that sense of belonging, students will feel isolated. And when they feel isolated, a lot of negative emotion will come out, like they will feel stressed, depressed, left out, and things like that, all right? We need to think about it, yeah, because when students get engaged with online learning, they are actually all alone with their gadget, yeah, the students and also the laptop and things like that, right? They don't really have that classroom environment. They could not have a bit of chit chat with their friends sitting next to them, like in a classroom. They could not really see what others are doing. They could not really exchange ideas and things like that. So therefore, lack of the feeling of belonging among students will lead to a lot of negative thinking among students. Thus, the student could not really learn effectively in online learning. Yeah. So in a way to like overcome this lack of self-belonging is that as a teacher, lecturers, we can create an online environment where students can feel free to experiment, to express themselves in appropriate ways. Of course, like in language classes, yeah, we need the students to use the language to talk with each other, to talk with teachers, to talk with us and things like that, all right? So we, in an online platform, we need to create that kind of environment, all right? And also according to Franz over there, create opportunities for dialogue and discourse, which is very good because when they are platform for them to talk to the teachers and also among each others, they will feel safe. They will feel the sense of belonging, all right? They will feel good about themselves, yeah? So in the era of technology, there are many platforms that we can utilize to create this kind of environment online. And I found that one of it would be Padlet, right? Padlet. I'm sure many of you are quite familiar with it, but if you do not know what Padlet is like an online notice board where the members of the, maybe a group which has access to a particular Padlet, they can post videos, audios, comments, and things like that. So basically, it's an environment where students are free to express themselves. They can see what others are doing. They can get some ideas from their friends' work and things like that, right? And yeah, I do find that students, they like to see what their friends are doing, how their friends are answering questions, how their friends executing any task. Only then they can get some ideas. So I find that Padlet is a very good, what we call, platform for students to express themselves,
Mas.
hence get the sense of belonging. Yeah. So recently I conducted an action research on Padlet. Yeah, I asked me and my partner asked the group of students to use Padlet in order for them to execute 2 tasks. Once they are done with the task, we ask them to give some feedbacks from the usage of Padlet. All right. So based on the findings, I can say that students, most of them agree that Padlet allow communication between lecturer and student to students. Yeah. So like I said before, to inject a human touch, we need to create that connection. They need to be able to speak freely between lecturers and students. Yeah. So basically, students view Padlet positively. They really like it very much. Yeah. And these are some of the what we call feedback from the students. Yeah. One student say it was fun. We can learn from other students' way of thinking with the open concept of Padlet. Yeah. So you see, the students, they really love to learn from each other. Not to say they are copying from each other, but they can learn so much from seeing what their friends are doing. All right. Yeah. So another student says is helpful because I can correct my mistake while lecturer check on my work and easy for me to learn. Other than that is a bit of typing a grammatical error from the students. This is originally from the student. Other than that, I can get ideas from friends too if I need to know anything. So you basically the takeaway from the action research is that Padlet allows the students to collaborate with each other. Many of them say that they can learn from each other. They love to see what their friends are doing. For example, in the task, I asked the students to post their speech outline on Padlet. So the students, they take a look at their friends' outline, they leave a comments on the notes on Padlets and things like that. So basically, for the third needs on the hierarchy, the needs to feel, to have the sense of belonging, I guess it is important for us, especially the teachers, the lecturers, to create a very suitable environment for the students to talk to us, the lecturers, or even to talk with each other. All right, because by creating this kind of platform, students can learn a lot. They will feel at ease. They can feel the connection over there. Hence, the lecturers can humanize online learning. All right, they won't feel isolated. They will feel, they will feel as if they are in a real classroom. They feel as if they have support, they have friends with them, rather than just being all alone, writing an essay, recording videos and things like that, and not knowing what their friends are up to. All right. So basically, that is the third need in the hierarchy, which is the need to feel the sense of belonging. All right. Moving on would be esteem, self-esteem. Students also need to feel good with themselves. They need to be appreciated. All right. That is why I say learning could not be conducted where the teacher deliver and the student receive. There should be two-way communication. There should be discussion, and even it is important for the teachers to praise the students. They would feel very good. Even a simple good job, or even a simple badge, or simple emoticons, the students will feel good about themselves. And another thing about having good self-esteem is that the teachers need to be present in an online learning, right? I know sometimes when we conduct online classes, we just send them videos that we get from YouTube, or we send them voice notes and things like that. I'm not saying it is wrong, but then again, it is also important for the lecturers to show themselves to the students so that it can build good rapport with the students. Yeah. So when the students see the lecturers on the screens, on the videos, they hear the voice and things like that, the student will feel motivated to learn. All right. Interestingly, one research by Go et al. Claimed that the existence of talking head will be the existence of instructor from the waist up, like this picture, from the waist up. But the existence of talking head or even an animation representation of the lecturer on screen is more engaging to the student as compared to only slides. Meaning to say that the students really appreciate when they can see who is talking, who is teaching them actually. Yeah. So by looking at their lectures, they will feel appreciated. Like for instance, when we compare a simple video with only slides, writing and things like that, and then another video where the lecturers show themselves talking, explaining to the students will get more engaged with the videos where the lecturers show themselves over there. And when they see the lecturers, they will feel motivated to learn. They will feel good. They will feel they want to learn more because they will feel as if they are in a normal classroom, in the real physical classroom. Yeah. So therefore, maybe as a lecturer, when we want to create a video, or maybe if we want to create a slides, maybe we can put ourselves in the video or even in the slides. According to Go, it's not only our real self such as this. Maybe we also can create an animation version of ourselves and we put it on the slides, on the videos, because it is more engaging, rather than just write animation of the things like, for example, engineering students, they learn a lot about machines and things like that, right? So rather than just videos or pictures of the machine, why not they put the lecturers, the instructor put themselves on the screen so that the students will feel motivated to learn. Therefore, everybody, one of the way where we can boost the self-esteem of the students, the way that we can fulfill the needs to feel good about themselves is that we can appear on the screen for the students, and even better if we can have like a live session such as this where we can produce instant what we call feedback to the students. We can, like I said, a simple good job, all right, good job, Fakri, for example. The students will feel good about themselves and they will feel motivated to what we call get engaged with online learning. They will feel as if they are appreciated and they would want to answer more of our questions rather than just talk and talk and talk, and after 1 hour, okay, that's it, class ends. The students will feel good about themselves. They won't get the self-esteem that they need over there, right? Other than that, this is by Pransky and Brock. She said that as a lecturer in an online learning, we need to facilitate the student. We need to wear the hat of facilitators. We need to be present over there. We shouldn't be like a robot whereby the communication is only one way, right? Also, according to Pransky and Brock, we need to have empathy. We need to understand what the students are going through. Well, talking about empathy, it is also important to understand our students, because some students, when they are at home, they couldn't really what we call focus on online learning, because some students, they have other responsibility like taking care of their little brothers and sisters and things like that. So basically it comes back to communication between us, the lecturers, and also the students. And also we need to be aware of the students, whether they feel bored, whether they are not engaging with the what we call online learning, with the session and things like that. All right. So basically that is the fourth need. We need to boost the students' self-esteem. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, the peak of the hierarchy will be actualization, self-actualization. Yeah, and according to Maslow, self-actualization is the ability to become the best version of oneself. In terms of online learning, yeah, once they have fulfilled their needs from the bottom, the physical needs, the safety, the sense of belonging, and their self-esteem, only then the students can reach this self-actualization. Only then they will feel good about themselves. Only then they will be more active in the online learning session, right? So therefore, in order for us to help to facilitate the student to achieve self-actualization, I guess the key is to communicate with our students, right? To really understand them. By talking, by a simple talk, we can inject a bit of human touch to online learning. Hence, we can humanize online learning. All right. I guess I'm almost done with my presentation here. Let's take a look at what Franz has to say before I end my pitch over here. So Franz says, in an era of social distancing, we are all searching for some form of social closeness right now. So by humanizing digital instruction and by using it as an opportunity to connect with your class, you are fulfilling one of the most important functions of schooling. You are providing not just meaningful and structured academics, but community social connection that is necessary and will be much appreciated by all involved, right? Well, indeed, it is important for us, especially the lecturers, to create human touch in our online learning by having connection with students. They will feel good about themselves, they can fulfill their needs, and in order for them to climb up the hierarchy and to reach the top of it, which is self-actualization, right? Lack of communication, if we only act as a robot, all right, for instance, we just deliver slides, videos, notes, and things like that, the students won't feel the connection. There won't be any human touch in our online learning. Thus, we could not really make an online session as effective as possible. And I guess the main takeaway from my speech for today is, from my sharing session today, is that injecting human touch is very important, is essential in online learning. And one of the simplest way to do it is by talking, communicating with our students. All right. So I guess that's it. Thank you very much. I pass it back to Mr. Iyadit.
Thank you so much, Cik Izzat, just now. It is very insightful presentation you gave it and share with us about how to humanize online learning according to Maslow hierarchy needs, from the physical needs until self-actualizations. Yeah, we truly need that in our online learning nowadays. It's not just to become to send our students a video or whatnot, right? All right. Thank you so much, Encik Izzat, once again. All right. So before we continue, all right, even though I think I have few questions starting to come in from the chat box, okay, but I will entertain that later. But I would just to remind again for our viewers for today's webinar, if you have any questions for the speakers, you can type your questions in the chat box in our YouTube live. I will entertain your questions later during the Q&A session later, right? Okay, so thank you so much again, Mr. Izzat. All right, now, so without wasting any more time, I would like to invite our second speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Fakri Rabialdi, to continue the sessions. Okay, so hands to you, Mr. Fakri.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I get it.
Yes, yeah, I did.
Let me share my screen.
Sure. You can share your screen now.
Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Rector of UITM Negeri 9, Profesor Dr. Humanize, the Honorable Dean of Academy Language UITM Negeri 9, Associate Professor Dr. Zainul Ismail, and last but not least for the all participants who attend in this webinar. First and foremost, I would like to express my thankfulness for giving me the opportunity to share my knowledge in this such a great webinar. And also, I'm excited to share my knowledge in this program, which is held by University Palawan Indonesia and UITM Negeri 9 Malaysia. And the first speaker and the topic proposed by the team is the Humanizing online learning. And the first speaker just now has been mentioned humanizing online learning in the context of education. Therefore, I'm trying to share my knowledge in other perspective, which is in the management side. Okay, before I continue the topic, let me introduce myself. My name is Fahri Abialdi, and currently I'm attached with the Entrepreneurship and Business Department. A little bit about my education background. Previously, MC has been discussed as for my background. Most of my education background it was completed in Malaysia. I took my bachelor degree program in Management Science University Malaysia in Shah Alam, and then I did my master degree program in University Utara Malaysia under Master in Human Resource Management program. And Alhamdulillah, currently I pursue my doctoral degree program in UUM Utara. Okay, then back to the topic itself. The humanizing on learning. So here there are several points that I will discuss. The first one is what is the happening of this. Okay. The second one, what's the advantages and disadvantages of implementing online learning. The third one is the concept of the humanizing online learning. Number 4 is why is the humanizing online learning important. And number 5, the principle of the humanizing online learning. And then next, how to ensure the effectiveness of humanizing online learning. And the last one is the strategy of effective humanizing online learning. So,
sorry, Mr. Fakri.
Yeah.
We couldn't hear your voice quite clearly.
All right.
All right.
Now, is it clear?
Can you like move closer?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, edit. So edit.
Yes. It's better now.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So the first topic is what is happening nowadays. So, as we know that most of the country currently face pandemic issue, which is the COVID-19. Okay. It started from 2020 in January until now. The total cases is improved or increased. It's almost 300%. Here, the 2020, 97,256 total cases in the world. And currently, we see that the total cases is 202,527,461. This is all total cases happen in the world. But when we talk about the COVID-19, it affects all the sectors in the world, and the economic sector, education sector, political and technological. However, when we talk about humanity online learning, so meaning that we can be focusing with the education sector. Okay. So actually, when we face the COVID-19 itself, there are a lot of issues. There are a lot of issues occur in our country, either in Malaysia or Indonesia itself. And then from the COVID-19 itself, it was transforming from the traditional method to the technological method. For example, like Sir Izzat just now said that we do a physical classes, and now we do a technologically classes. Okay, for example, here several articles that I took from the journal and the website. Kompas.com Corona 41 juta pelajar di 39 negara belajar di rumah, kampus di Indonesia kuliah online. And then hari pertama masuk kuliah mayoritas belajar jarak jauh. So we see that from the COVID effect, most of our teacher, our lecturer, or our educator, we have to transfer the concept of the learning itself from the traditional into the technological itself. So sometimes we call it a lot online learning. Okay. Then online learning itself, it is one of the element, it is one of the important way how to solve the issue related with the education itself. But when we conduct an online itself, there is still issue that occur in our country or in Malaysia or in Indonesia or in other countries. For example, like orang tua keluhkan pembelajaran online, guru gagal paham soal home learning, and then belajar online beri dampak negatif ke anak. Ini kata psikologi Jennifer. So meaning that when we conduct an online learning, some of our educators, some of our teachers, some of our lecturers, they have no capacity to do online learning. And then they have the limitation of knowledge regarding the technology itself. They have a limitation of the about the facility, about technology and others. So then what is the online learning itself? From the journal that I read, online learning is basically access to learning experience via the use of some technology. And then this is a new version or improved version of distance learning. And when we talk about online learning, there are three phases. The first one, we call it a distance learning. And the second one, we call it e-learning. And the last one, we call it online learning. In the simple word, this is have a similar perception. But when we say that, when specifically based on this work, it's totally different. For example, like distance learning. Sometimes we call it distance learning. We just send our material to our students, either using WhatsApp, Gmail, and others. But when we talk about e-learning is how we use our website or our technology to conduct learning itself. For example, in University Palawan, using what we call it Moodle and the other application. But when we talk about online learning is how we, as educators, do face-to-face with our students. One of the example of the application itself is WebEx, and then Zoom and others. So this is what is the concept of the online learning itself.
Sorry, Mr. Fakri.
Yeah.
You're still muffled on our side. Could you come closer to your PC, and then because the mic is quite closer to you, so that you can present your presentations clearly. But just now it's quite it's clear, but then when you move away from your microphone, it started to get muffled again.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Is it clear now?
Can you try again?
Is it hello?
All right. Oh yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So sorry. So sorry to interrupt you. All right.
Okay. When we talk about the online learning, there is a pro and cons about the online learning itself. For example, when we talk about the advantages of online learning, many people that believe online learning is quite tough or it's difficult to do. But when we think in a positive way, there are a lot of things that we can do. The first one is it can increase the flexible of working hours, and then can reach time and money from the flexibility of learning offline, and then no need to suffer from traffic jams and setup time. For example, when we stay in KL or the big city, and then gain extra time to gain more knowledge and review, and also be able to use extra time for copy book to take care of household and family, and then save costs. And the last one is of course, we can be learning from our own pace. But when we think another perspective in negative way, there is several disadvantages of the online learning. The first one is that kinesthetic are lost in the online classroom. Okay, and the second one, we lost the personal contact with our students. And also for the students, they can be decrease the motivation, and sometimes we get the delay feedback from the students. And then of course, we have no social interaction between them, because we just communicate and we see them virtually, not physically. And then the most important thing is the number of course teaching online is not enough, because I believe that when we conduct a program or when we conduct a deep learning, some of the material or some of the program we need to do a practicum. So when we do online learning, we have to cancel the concept. We need to change another method to give our learning to our students. So basically, when we compare these advantages and disadvantages of online learning itself, this is a quite balance. We cannot say that online learning is the more disadvantages rather than advantages. Okay. Now, when we talk about online learning itself, there is a lot of issue, or there is a lot of factors that trigger the online learning itself. So that's why we propose what we call it humanizing on learning. So what is the humanizing itself? Humanizing is the pedagogical strategy that seeks to improve equity gaps by acknowledging the fact that learning environments are not neutral. Rather, they often operate to reinforce a world view that minority some students. Other scholars say that humanizing is a pedagogical experience that asks people to regain their dignity, self-respect, and human rights through social justice. Okay. Another point that humanizing is that humanizing pedagogy could be utilized as a tool of resistance to what she identified as the method ethics in educational research. The concern search to try and find the most effective and efficient way to transmit content or skill into students, which Frank initially identified as the basic model of education. So, in the simple word, humanizing in Indonesia language, we say that memanusiakan manusia. And then we talk about the Malay language, memanusiakan manusia. The pronoun is similar. But what is the memanusiakan manusia? When we born, the people, the human is like a blank paper. When we come as educator or we as a lecturer, how we build the student itself to be what they want in the future. Either she or he become lecturer, either to become teacher, doctor, and others. But how we as educators we touch them with our human, and we can communicate well with them, we do consultation with them, and others component of the humanity itself. So similarly with the third is that just now when we talk about humanizing, we can refer to the Maslow hierarchy of needs. But in this context, I just share in the context of the management side. Okay, there are 5 components of the Maslow hierarchy of needs. The first one is talk about the self-actualization. The second one is about the esteem. The third one is about the love of belonging. And number 4 is safety, and the last one is physiological. So when we do transfer information to our students, we want them to improve the quality, and they can get in order to fulfill the physiological, and they can fulfill the safety and love belonging. And the last one, we want they can fulfill the self-actualization. So this is the reason why we have to do humanizing with our students itself. Okay. So we back to the concept itself. What is the humanizing on learning itself? So from the discussion before, that humanizing on learning is a strategy of pedagogy or andragogy on transforming knowledge and information to fulfill the gap of student knowledge through the technology itself. Okay. Now, why is the humanizing on learning is important? Maybe it is totally different with the third is that because I'm looking on the management side. Why the humanizing on learning is important? Because we will face what we call it change management. Okay, change management has been defined as the process of continually renewing an organization's direction, structure, and capability to solve the ever-changing needs of external and internal customers. other concept of the change management. Change management is a discipline framework for driving business result by changes behavior. And the goal of the objective of the change management is to improve the organization by altering how work is done. So how the humanizing on learning is related with the change management? As we know that currently we face with the what we call industry revolution 4.0. When we talk about change management, meaning that we have prepared our students or our students or our children in order to have it in the future with the technology itself. So once they have graduated from our university, they can become familiar with the technology itself. Okay. This is what we call change management. And then second one is the transformation of generation. Okay, when we talk about generation, here I took from the mid-kind of 2004. Actually, there are 6 types of generation, but here I just focusing with the 4 components. The first one is the baby boomer. The second one is the generation X. The third one is the generation Y, and the last one is generation Z. So currently, most of our students is generation Z. You can see that the differences between each of their generation. For example, like when we talk about learning format, for the baby boomers, they do relaxed and structured programs, and then for the generation X, they do spontaneous and interactive, and then for the generation Y, they mostly using multisensory visual, and for the current era, what we call it generation Z, they mostly using student-centric or kinesthetic. So why the student-centric? I believe that currently most of our students they more participate on discussion rather than just giving theory or knowledge to them. We need to have interaction with our staff, with our students. When we conduct a student-centric, so meaning that what is the need of the student? This is what we send to them. Not only what we want as an educator or the lecturer, just to them, we pass to them. So this is the reason why the humanity on learning is important. Okay, the third one is the education on technology changes. So previously, as I mentioned before, that currently we do face industry revolution 4.0. There are 9 components. The first one is called augmented reality, Internet of Things, database, Internet of Things, manufacturing additive, and the rest. But when we talk about humanity on learning, so meaning that we have prepared ourselves with the technology itself. One of the components we call it Internet of Things, and then sometimes we can using augmented reality. So based on this technology, we say that the learning become more efficient and effectively. Okay. And the last one is related with the society 5.0. Okay. As we know that society 5.0 can be divided as a smart community where physical world and cyberspace are very integrated. Society 5.0 focuses on humanizing by prioritizing the development of scientific and technological innovation that have the main development purpose in the economic sector. So for the society 5.0, there are several characteristics. The first one, we talk about the use for information and communication technology. And the second one is the center and community. And the third one is the people participation. Number 4 is has common values, sustainability, inclusive, effective, and intelligence power. And the last one is the development of economic disruption. When we say that society 5.0 is important on humanity on learning, as Sir Izzat just said that when we put on learning, we need to have when we need to do human touch with our students. So when we talk about industry revolution 4.0, we cannot do that. But when we talk about society 5.0, we can touch them with our behalf. And, it's like communicate well, and interaction and discussion. This is one of several components in the society 5.0 itself. So here actually is similar with the previous speaker. There are several principles of humanizing online learning. When we talk about humanizing online learning, there are 4 components that we need to do. That we need to know. The first one is trust. The second one is the presence. The third one is empathy, and the last one is the awareness. So why we have to trust our students? I believe that most of our students, they have sometimes they're lying, and the connection is not good. The connection is good, but sometimes they call it is not good. So, but we as educators, we need to trust them because we don't know what is the real situation in that student itself. The second one is the presence. Presence here means that don't be a robot. When we talk about don't be a robot, we back to the industry revolution 4.0. So here, when we talk about the humanizing online learning, how we as educator or how we as a lecturer do, it's like we are ready with them. For example, like when the student ask for the meeting, we have to connect with them. Either we can using physically, or we can using WhatsApp itself. Okay, and then the third one is the awareness. Why awareness is important? Here, we need to know our student itself. Basically, in this context or in this principle, we have to do some survey in a week, because to ensure that what we have transferred to our student is received effectively. And then sometimes we also get sometimes we also need what we call feedback from our students in order to improve our online learning in the future itself. And the last one is the empathy. When we talk about empathy, we talk about sense where student needs support. So meaning that we have empathy with students. Whether they have a good condition or they have a poor condition, we have to empathy. Sometimes when in my experience, our students, they have a bad connection, but the teacher or the lecturer, they ask for turn on the video. At the same time, we cannot push them to turn on the video, because sometimes it's like they have their network is not good, maybe because of they have no financial to buy quota, and so here the empathy is important when we conduct the humanizing online learning. So when we conduct the humanizing online learning, these 4 elements should be conducted. Okay. Then here, how to ensure the effectiveness of humanizing online learning? It's actually this is how we develop a humanizing itself. The first one is we have to analyze what is the expectation of all output of the program itself. Sometimes maybe we call it a syllabus, or in Indonesia we call it RPS, Rancangan Pembelajaran Study. So from the expectation or the output itself, we know what is the objective of our learning itself. What is the goal of our learning? And then we want them to have a good behavior. We have to get good attitude and others. And then when we talk about analysis, we also decide what is the true or what is the correct method or the application for the humanizing online learning. For example, like in Indonesia, most of the favorite application for us is the Zoom and the Google Meet. But I'm not sure, maybe for the Malaysia institution, they prefer to using the WebEx, or sometimes they using Zoom. Actually, this is how we as an educator or teacher or lecturer using the right method or the application for connecting the humanizing online learning itself. And then after we decide what is the expectation and what is the method or application for the humanizing online learning itself, then we move to the developing and connecting program. Here, for example, like in one semester, we do 14 weeks, or we do 3 to 4 months in one semester. So this is what we calling a developing and connecting program. This is how we communicate, how we transfer our knowledge to our students. After finish the end developing and connecting program, we move to the evaluation, or we call it in Kirkpatrick model. So from the evaluation step, sometimes we call it examination, presentation. This is indicator of the evaluation. So in the evaluation itself, there are 4 components that we have to measure. The first one is the reaction. How react the student with our program, our learning, and then second one is the learning, how the effectiveness of our learning to the student itself, and the third one is the behavior, how that program has changed the behavior of our student, and the last one, the most important thing of the evaluation is the result. So from the result, we can see that what we call it the result of the examination is good A, B, C, or this is the evaluation process. So to ensure that effectiveness of humanizing learning, we need to conduct this step. Okay. So other than that, when we talk about the effectiveness of online learning, there are several components that we need to know. The first one is interaction. The second one is the participation, and the third one is the engagement, and the last one is the motivation. Why the interaction is most important? When we do a learning, we need to feedback. We need to two-way communication between us, between educator or the lecturer to the student itself. When we just are giving information to our knowledge, so meaning that our learning is not good, or is not really efficient, because we have no interaction between our students itself. We don't know what is the problem with our students itself, whether they understand or not. Okay. Number 2 is the participation. How active student is in the classroom. Sometimes when we conduct online learning, we want our student will be participate. Sometimes when we ask them, they have to answer what we wanted. So this is the participation, and the third one is the engagement. The student involvement in classroom activity with the instructor. So sometimes sometimes when we ask our student several questions, most of our students is quite they, how to say that, keep silent, because they don't know what is the answer of the question itself. When we have engagement itself, so meaning that we try to how our student is not afraid or not scary with our question itself. And then the last one is the most important thing, is the motivation. The most important the motivation itself, what drives the student to practice and ultimate success. So when we conduct online learning, we have to ensure that this component of the online learning is using in our progress of transforming the information itself. Okay, I think that's all from my side. Saryajit. Okay, I'm back to the moderator.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Fakri. All right. Okay. Okay. So thank you so much again, Mr. Fakri. That was a really great sharing on the topic of humanizing online learning, which most of us, the educators, will start to practice in humanizing our teaching and learning to achieve the needs of students and the teachers to continue the online learning in this during this difficult time. Okay. Before that, on behalf of the organizer, we are sorry for the inconvenience. Okay. Because I think on Mr. Fakri's sides, they're having internet connections. However, we are going to share with you the slides at the end of our webinar. All right. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, all right, so I hope all of you enjoyed this wonderful sharing by Izat and Mr. Fakri. Okay, all right, now we have come to the question and answer session. Okay, now Izat and Mr. Fakri will answer some questions that were sent to us during the session. If you still have questions, you can still type in the chat box, okay, in our YouTube live. Okay, we'll try our best to entertain most of the questions, okay, due to time constraint. I have selectively taken the most often cited questions and will be posing them to our guest speaker. All right, so before we start again, so Mr. Joseph just now suggested to all of us, if you have difficulties to use a Padlet, you can also use Jamboard, okay, to replace Padlet if you want. All right, if you want to try in your online learning later on. Okay, so let's start with our first questions. Okay, okay. All right, so the first questions, okay, is for Mr. Izaid. It's from Dr. Alice Shanti. All right, good morning, Mr. Izaid. I conducted a survey on almost 500 students and found that almost 50% of the students learn using handphones. So what are your comments on learning using handphones in online distance learning? How effective that is going to be? So that is from Dr. Alice.
All right.
So what is your thought on that, Mr. Izzat?
Okay. First of all, thank you very much, Dr. Alice, for the question. It says that 50% of the students are using smartphone for online learning. And what is my view on that one? For me, using smartphone for online learning is okay. This is because most of our students, they come from the younger generation. We call them as the digital natives because they are born in an era where the technology is already there. For them, they could not live a day without their handphone, their smartphone. They do a lot of things with their smartphone. They socialize with their smartphone. They do business. They make money with their smartphone. They take pictures. They edit pictures. And even for more advanced users, some of the students, they do coding. Yeah, they learn coding on their smartphones. So for me, in the case where the students, they use smartphone for online learning, it shouldn't be a problem. Even though smartphone is not really that convenient as compared to having a personal computer or a laptop, but then again, we need to remember that we are talking about the younger generation, the digital natives. So they know their way on their handphones. They know how to get access to the files on their smartphones and things like that. So therefore, they won't find any difficulties in using smartphone for online learning. Like for instance, they need to what we call record videos. They need to use application like Padlet or even Jamboard and things like that. However, the only setback that I could think of would be the size of the screen. I don't know, maybe because my eyesight is not that good anymore. I don't really like to read a long text using a smartphone, like reading an article, journal article and things like that. I prefer to use a bigger screen like my laptop, or even I prefer to print it out. But then again, according to Mr. Fakri, I belong to Gen Y. Yeah, I belong to Gen Y. So I listen to Eminem, Puff Daddy, according to the slides. Very interesting over there. I guess for me, I encourage the students to use the smartphone for online learning. So instead of just socializing, taking beautiful pictures and posting on Instagram, they can utilize their smartphone for learning. However, like I said, the only setback would be the screen is too small for me. That is my personal opinion. But I found that students, they can read, they can do a lot of things using their smartphone. They can even write an essay or edit a PowerPoint slides using their smartphone. So basically, it goes down to their preference. If they are what we call comfortable of using it, then it's okay. And nowadays, I guess the smartphone is not that very small as compared to the one that we had like in 2000. I don't know, 2010 and things like that. Nowadays, it's bigger. It's is getting bigger and bigger. Yeah, so that is my view on Dr. Alice's question. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Zai. Okay, there's a second questions. Okay, I think I'm going to open this question for both our speakers today. Maybe Zai, maybe Mr. Fakri would start first, and then Zai, you can give your opinion on that. Okay, so the question is, okay, Mr. Fakri, if you're ready. Okay, so it's the question is from Dr. Tuan Sarifah Aini Said Ahmad. All right. So Mr. Fakri, how to make students feel the feedback from asynchronous online learning activities is similar to the feedback given in a face-to-face instruction in the physical classroom.
Yajid, your
All right.
voice is clear. Can you
Asynchronous. Okay, so how to make students feel the feedback from asynchronous online learning activity is similar to the feedback given in face-to-face instruction in the physical classroom, Mr. Fakri. For example, I think Dr. I hope that I correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Sharifah. All right, it means that you give comments in online instead of giving face-to-face comments in the physical classroom. So what do you think about that, Mr. Fakri?
Okay, in my point of view, actually when we conduct online learning exercise or specifically on evaluation, it just we just there is Roman aerobic exercise. But when we talk about online learning exercise, we just transfer the technology exercise, the method of the school to the technology. So how we measure, how we evaluate the learning exercise, the learning exercise, I believe that there's no differences between traditional or physical method with the technology itself. So we can using what we using in traditional or physical, and we can using in technology itself. I think that's all from me.
All right, thank you. Okay, so Zaid, what's your opinion on Dr. Sarifah ini? So what do you think? How to make students feel the feedback from asynchronous online learning activities is similar to the feedback?
All right. So first of all, thank you, Dr. Tuan Sharifah Aini, for the question. I guess what she meant is that how the difference between feedback in an asynchronous online classes to synchronous. So asynchronous means it's delay, it's not in real time, and synchronous means in real time. So I guess how to make the student feel, is it? How to make the student feel the feedback is that for me, I guess nowadays students, they like to socialize, they like to share things on their social media platform. So maybe one of the best way to give feedback to the student is that by giving them some sort of like recognition, like giving them badges, e-certificate and things like that. Because by giving that kind of feedback, not only that they will learn something from it, but they will also feel good about themselves. And I know students, they will share it in their Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and things like that, because they these are the kind of generation that that really love to share things. Yeah, share things, even the things that they eat that day and things like that, they will like post it online. So when in an online classroom, if we were to give them like we can create a simple icon, emoticon, or even a WhatsApp, what we call it, sticker, WhatsApp sticker. If you can spend time to create a sticker, personalized sticker for the students, they will feel good about themselves, and they will feel as if they have achieved something, which is good to boost up their self-esteem.
Yeah, it will motivate them to to keep coming into our class.
I know you also will feel good if I give you a WhatsApp sticker.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Cik. All right. So the next question from Siti Hajar Majani. All right. This is the question is for Mr. Fakri. All right, Mr. Fakri, do you have any idea how to encourage the students to answer our questions during the class? I will ask the question, but no answer. So how would you, react to that?
Okay, thank you, Miss Siti Hajar. So I think I'm not sure because maybe me and the student has a similar generation, which is a type generation Z. So when we conduct a learning itself, we do not only as a learning, we do more on the discussion. What is the problem with the student? We need to know. But sometimes, in my opinion, I'm not saying that some the lecture is not good, but I believe that our lecturer is more on giving the knowledge, the information to our students. They only talk, then sharing knowledge. But what the need of the generation that they only focusing how the idea or the perception of the student it can be used on the material itself. So when we have a good friend or when we call it friendly learning, so there's a good interaction between us as a lecturer and the student itself. But in order to build in order to encourage students to answer our question, we need to know is it the way how we ask them is good, or sometimes we call it that it's like we push them to answer the question. This is the method that we have to know. As the basic way is we need to know what is the student is. So this is the important thing when we do on learning.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, there's one more question for you, Mr. Fakri.
Yeah.
Could we, as lecturers or educators, still be relevant? Still be relevant in our teaching, even if we're not technology savvy? What do you think about that, Mr. Fakri?
So in my perspective, maybe I'll be focusing with the human resource because my background is the human resource. The concept of educator, the skill or the product of the educator is the knowledge, information, and the education itself. But when we talk about the learning or when we talk about the technology, it is a tool. It's a tool how we transfer our information to the student. So sometimes we see that our professor they have a limitation on technology, but he or she still has the concept or the basic or the competency of the educator, which the knowledge itself, the skill and ability. But when they have issue with the technology itself, whether we can using our assistant researcher or we can ask other people to help us to using the technology. So in my opinion, still relevant when we have limitation knowledge regarding the technology itself.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fakri. Okay. There's a lot of questions, I think, but we still have time. Just time check. All right, we still have time. Okay. So another question for you, Mr. Izzat. Okay. It is from Associate Professor Dr. Su Kamyuk. One problem in online learning is whether students are actually in the class and paying attention. So we don't know whether they're paying attention or not. So what is the best way to tackle this, Chizai?
All right. Thank you very much for the question, Associate Professor Sukamyuk. That is a common problem that we have in online learning. We do not know whether the students are paying attention or not, whether they're listening to our lecture or not. Yeah. I guess to answer this question, yeah, based on my experience, is that it's really hard for us to really make sure that the students are like 100% focusing on the content that we are delivering. All right. This is not like a classroom environment where we can really see the students to see what they are doing and things like that. Right. If they are like dreaming away, they are focusing on something else, we can always ask the students to like stay focused and things like that. But for online learning, some students, they like to hide away behind their laptop, tablet, smartphones and things like that. I guess the way to tackle this, yeah, this is my own opinion, not based on any research or things like that. It's just that I try to put your lecture in chunks where don't talk for in a long stretch of period like 1 hour straight, because it could be it could be very exhausting to the lecturers and also to the students. Yeah. So what I normally do would be I will put it in chunks, maybe like in 20 minutes. I will stop. I ask the students to do something, to maybe play a simple games, or I pick random students to ask questions, or to even do something simple not related to the content of the lectures. By doing so, the students can get a little bit of break time to refresh up their minds, and also for those who are sleeping or dreaming behind their
Drifting
switch off
away.
camera, behind their switch off camera, they would have time to refresh up themselves and continue with the lectures. Because I know that for classes sometimes it will go on for 2 hours and things like that, and some subjects, they have a lot of content to be delivered, a lot of theories and things like that. But then again, I guess it would be good if you can put it in chunks of like maybe 15 to 20 minutes and then do something else. It like I have a friend, not had, I have a friend who will like stop in the middle of the class and do like physical activities, like ask the students to do chicken dance, doing star jump and things like that, just to get the students to move. Because sitting and listening sometimes can be very exhaustive to the body and also to the mind. So I guess my way of tackling that problem is that put it in chunks and ask the students to do some hands-on activity, right? Or even just say something in the chat box and things like that, right? So by looking at the reply in the chat box, we can see whether the students, they are paying attention, or they somewhere else, they just leave their laptop or smartphone switch on.
Yeah, like do a brain gym and then like warm up
Yeah.
their brain. All right. Okay, thank you, Chizat. Okay, so before we move to our last question, we just post a poll vote in our YouTube live. All right, you can vote now. So is online learning as effective as face-to-face instruction? So you can just vote yes or no, so we can see the results later. Okay. All right. So now the last question. I think I will open these questions to both of our speakers. We start with Mr. Fakri. So, Mr. Fakri, do you think that online learning will be able to fully replace face-to-face learning in future? Means that we don't need a physical classroom anymore. So, what do you think about that?
In my point of view, maybe it is one of the way how we transfer our information to the future. I have discussed with my supervisor before. Then he believes that our student is not is preferred to do online learning because they can do another activity at the same time. For example, like Izzat just now said, maybe when they turn off their camera, they're sleeping, they do any activity, but when we think in the positive way, when we conduct on learning, they can go for work at the same time, because so far a student that I met before, they still learning in the working place, but at the same time, at the same time they have the, to say that, they have the perception the education is important, so that's why they combine the working and then the work, they combine. So that's why we said that online learning is important for now and in the future. Maybe this is can replace the physical classroom itself. This is my one of my opinion.
All right, thank you. Yeah, that's true, Mr. Fakri. Okay, so probably we can, do both. All right. not just a physical class, we can also do an online classroom next time. All right, so Shizad, so what is your thought on that? Do you think all the online learning will be able to fully replace face-to-face classroom?
Well, interestingly, before the pandemic, I am an advocate of online learning. I always think that one day online learning will replace the physical learning in the classroom and things like that.
Yeah.
But after experiencing it, experiencing online learning 100%, I would think that online learning would not 100% replace the physical learning in the classroom, simply because the dynamics between classroom learning and also online learning are quite different, right? In terms of the content, yeah, might be the same, but then again, in terms of the effective, the background, the environment and things like that, definitely, there are pros and cons between classroom learning and also online learning. Even though in the world of academics, there has been talk about replacing lectures, classroom learning for quite some time, even back in 1930s, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, based on my reading, they have started to tinker around on the ideas of creating a robot that can give you feedbacks and things like that. But then again, up until today, I think classroom learning, physical learning is still important for everybody. So I guess moving towards the future, the best way is not 100% online learning, maybe blended learning. I guess blended learning is the best way because we supplement each other, they complement each other, all right? The classroom learning and also the online learning, all right? So
Yes.
I guess that is my take on the question over there.
All right, thank you, Mr. Izzat. All right, so we just got the result for the poll. All right, so 48% says that say yes, that online learning yes, online learning is effective. Okay, and 52% say that it is a no, that online learning is not effective as face-to-face interaction classroom. All right, so I think like Izzat said, all right, probably we have to have a blended learning or hybrid learning in the near future. We cannot just rely on the online learning so much as well, because like the topic itself, we need a human relationship in a classroom with our students. Okay, so yeah, I think that's all for the questions and okay, so I hope it all answer your yes, it answers all your questions just now. Okay, so finally we come to the end of the session. Okay, so I would like to say thanks again to our honorable speaker Encik Izzat and Mr. Fakri for sharing with us on the best practices and the key elements on humanizing online learning. Encik Izzat and Mr. Fakri, thank you for taking your time out on your busy schedule to be with us today. All right, it has been indeed abundant input session just now for us. So it is my pleasure to have you here with us today. With that, this marks the end of the talk. I will hand over the session to Madam No Fazlika. Over to you, Madam No Fazlika.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Muhammad Yadid Ashrai. Okay, so and that's a wrap, everyone. Thank you for staying us throughout this webinar. I hope that you have gained a lot of insight from our two wonderful speakers for today, Mr. Muhammad Izzat Rahim and Mr. Fakri Rabialdi. It has been indeed a fruitful and eye-opening session for us. Okay, before I end the session, I would like to remind all participants to fill in the feedback form for this webinar that has been posted in the comment section. Or you can also scan the QR code for e-certificate and also training hours. Okay, before we all say goodbye, we request for everyone on Zoom to open their cameras so that we can take a group photo.
Okay, so is everyone ready?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, wait, let me set up. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time. Freestyle maybe. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you everyone. We appreciate your willingness to be here with us throughout this session. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Till we meet again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and have a good day. Stay safe everyone and bye-bye.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Sheha.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Manila,
you,
Mr.
Yadi.
Fakri.
Thank you, everyone.
And
Okay, thank
also
you.
Izzat.
Thank you, everyone. It
Yes.
has been a pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Congratulations, everyone.
Congratulations.
And thank you, Mrs. Nila and Miss Vitri for, for being here and for, helping us on the other side there.
Thank you so
Okay.
much, Dr. Sheha. This is
Yes.
really great. And thank you, Prof. Zainan.
Okay. So the weather is not that great over there, is it?
Yeah, it has been raining.
I
It just
see.
stopped here, and I don't know about Mr. Fahri right now. Is it still raining in your campus, Mr. Fahri? No, okay. We are very sorry for the inconvenience. It is
No
out of our
problem.
control.
Yes. But, it was still comprehensible, I mean, the connection still got through,
Yeah.
So it's not that bad, actually. So it was
Yeah.
all right, actually, everything was okay. Yeah. So, it was great. So I think anything else, and then we'll just contact each other through the WhatsApp and email again. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Bye. Thank you so
Okay
much.
then. So have a nice day.
You.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Izzat, thank you so much. Too bad you are
Alright.
not here. Okay.
It's okay. Just share some
Usual,
pictures
we
with
have
me.
food.
My pleasure.
Share some
Thank you.
pictures with me. All right,
you.
Mr. Fakri,
Thank you,
thank
Izzat.
you.
Mr.
Yeah.
Fakri,
Bye,
thank
Izzat.
you so much. Okay,
Thank you,
for your
Miss Nila.
time.
Thank you. You're
Okay,
welcome.
so I will
Thank you,
be in
Izzat.
touch with you
Thank you,
later
Mr. Fakri.
WhatsApp. Okay. So you have a nice day, Mr. Fakri.
Kak Sheha, how about the slides?
Yeah, the slides I already asked from Mr. Fakri. Maybe he has shared it.
Bella, I send you my latest slide.